Hi students, welcome to today's session. Today we'll be discussing about prokaryotes and eukaryotes. In the previous videos I have mentioned about a brief introduction on cell biology, cell theory and all. And now today we are coming to see what is the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. In this diagram, you can see a prokaryotic cell. And now we know that prokaryotes are the simplest organisms. Prokaryotic cells are small, consisting of cytoplasm surrounded by a plasma membrane and encased within a rigid cell wall. Most prokaryotic cells are encased by a strong cell wall. And we know that the cell wall of bacteria is composed of peptidoglycan. Some prokaryotes use a flagellum for its locomotion. Here in this figure we can see the flagellum. This is the flagellum. It is a long thread-like structure protruding from the surface of a cell. We can see the flagellum originating from here. This is its base. It originates from the surface of the cell that are used in locomotion. Prokaryotic flagella are protein fibers that extend out from the bacterial cell. They may be one or more, and its number depends on the species. The movement of this flagellum is based upon a proton gradient that is maintained across this plasma membrane. And interestingly, the same principle in which a proton gradient powers the rotation of a molecule is used in eukaryotic mitochondria and chloroplast by an enzyme that synthesizes ATP. And in the previous video, I have mentioned about endosymbiotic theory, and we know the organelles of eukaryote, that is the mitochondria and chloroplast, were once independent organisms that got into a eukaryotic cell as an organelle after a long run of a symbiotic relationship. So that is what we have seen in that endosymbiotic theory. So I was just mentioning about this in this scenario. And coming to the interior organization of a prokaryotic cell, there are few compartments. That is, there are no membrane bound cell organelles in prokaryotic cell. Like, they don't have a nucleus, they don't have a mitochondria, and all these type of membrane bound organelles are absent in prokaryotic cell. The entire cytoplasm of a prokaryotic cell is one unit with no internal support structure. That is, they don't have cytoskeleton. They don't have a cytoskeleton to support their structure. And the entire, the strength of this entire prokaryotic cell lies within the cell wall of the cell. The plasma membrane of a prokaryotic cell carries out some of the functions organelles perform in eukaryotic cell. For example, some photosynthetic bacteria such as cyanobacteria have an extensively folded plasma membrane with the folds extending into the cell interior. In that case, we can see this is the plasma membrane, and the plasma membrane, in that case we can see it as infoldings. It may fold inwards. Such kind of infoldings can be seen in cyanobacteria. These membrane folds contain the bacterial pigments connected with photosynthesis. Likewise, another example we can say Before a prokaryotic cell divides, the prokaryotic hereditary material, a simple circle of DNA, replicates. The two DNA molecules that result from the replication attach to the plasma membrane at different points, ensuring that each daughter cell will contain one of the identical units of DNA. So these are two of the examples that supports that statement. And next, because a prokaryotic cell contains no membrane-bound organelles, the DNA, enzymes, and other cytoplasmic constituents have access to all parts of the cell. We can see here the parts of a prokaryotic cell here. The outer one, this is the capsule or slime layer, and inside that slime layer we can see a cell wall. This slime layer is not found in all prokaryotic cells, and interior to it we can see the cell wall, and this yellow colored layer, it is the plasma membrane, and inside the plasma membrane we can see this sky blue colored cytoplasm filled inside, and several of the granules, storage food granules and storage granules are seen in this area. And here we can see the nucleoid, and this is the flagellum that we already mentioned, and these dark colored ones are the ribosomes. These ribosomes in prokaryotes are of 70S type, while in eukaryotes we have 80S ribosomes. That is another difference between prokaryote and eukaryote. And in bacterial cell we have an extra chromosomal DNA that they have here. This is the plasmid. That extra chromosomal DNA we call it as plasmid. It can be of several types. That is another section. We are not going into details of different types of plasmids here, just an outline of the cell components only. And then now let's go on to the features of a eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cells are far more complex than prokaryotic cell. The hallmark of the eukaryotic cell is compartmentalization. That is, by the statement we can conclude that in eukaryotic cell they have membrane bound organelles. Plant cells often have a large membrane bounded sac like central vacuole which stores proteins, pigments and waste materials. Both plant and animal cells contain vesicles, that are the smaller sacs that store and transport a variety of materials. So vacuole in plant cells, most of the volume is occupied by a large vacuole. These vacuole are different from vesicles. Vesicles are smaller in size and they store and transport variety of materials. And in eukaryotic cell we have a nucleus. This is the nucleus, and inside the nucleus we can see the nucleolus. Okay, and what next? Inside the nucleus, the DNA is wound tightly around proteins and packaged into compact units called chromosomes. We have a linear DNA here, while in case of prokaryotes we have circular DNA. And there in case of prokaryotes the DNA was found in cytoplasm only, while here in eukaryotes DNA is found inside the nucleus. And also DNA here is not naked, that is, we have many proteins bound over the DNA which helps it in coiling and condensation, while in prokaryotes the DNA was naked. No such proteins were found to be associated with prokaryotic DNA. And another difference is in case of eukaryotes, they have introns, while in prokaryotes, introns were absent. And this we have already mentioned about the type of ribosome. 80S ribosomes are found in eukaryotes while 70S is in prokaryotes. And coming to the mode of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproductions are found in eukaryotic cell, while in prokaryotes they have only a sexual type of reproduction. The DNA is also diploid in eukaryote, while in prokaryotes it is haploid. So this is an overall difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Here in this picture we can see all these differences clearly and remarkably. This is a prokaryotic cell versus eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell, we can see the capsule, cell wall and plasma membrane. Capsule, cell wall and plasma membrane. And this is the cytoplasm. These may be some granules and ribosomes. And this is the nucleoid. The area where the DNA is seen in prokaryotes, it is called the nucleoid. This is the nucleoid, and this one is the circular DNA. And this here we can see the flagellum. And coming to the eukaryotic cell has a cell wall in case of cells of plants, fungi and all. They have cell wall, but in animal cells they don't have a cell wall. And inside the cell wall they have a plasma membrane. And inside this is the cytoplasm, and inside the cytoplasm we can see chloroplast. These are the chloroplast, so this might be a plant cell. It indicates that this might be a plant cell or a cyanobacterial cell. We can see the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, nuclear membrane, nucleolus. This is the nucleus itself. Ribosomes, these small granules we can see scattered in the cytoplasm. These are the ribosomes. And endoplasmic reticulum, cytoplasmic membrane, that is the plasma membrane. So all these are the components of, we can see these much of organelles, membrane bound organelles, and the clear intact nucleus, nucleolus, all these are present in eukaryotes. So we can see a clear demarcation here, clear difference in prokaryotic and eukaryotic. We can clearly identify this complex structure, and this one is the simplest structure. So hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you.